Good evening and welcome back to another edition of Money Talk with Melanie. I am your business diva, Melanie Collette, coming to you live from beautiful Cape May, New Jersey, via SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. I want to thank everybody who's coming into the chat right now. Jerry and Josh and William, hello. My guest today is the executive director of Beulah's, really now? Beulah's Place, Andi Buerger, and we're going to talk today about saving homeless teens from human traffickers, which is extremely important. If some of you are getting online thinking that I was going to talk about that whole microaggression thing, I did in another video. Eden Gordon Hill is here, Doug is here, Debbie's here. Hi, Matt. Hello. Welcome. So we're going to talk to Andi Buerger. I'm very excited about that. She's doing some very important work that we need to talk about. Hello, Zena. Welcome. So we're going to talk to her in a few minutes after we do a little bit of housekeeping. If you are not following me on Twitter, you may do so at MoneyTalkMel, or if you are feeling particularly adventurous and would like to follow my political tweets, follow my political tweets. Thank you, Miss Eden. Then you can do so at NJGOP Diva on Twitter. And then, of course, there's, the website, Pinterest, Google+. Really, you can't escape me is the bottom line. If you Google Money Talk with Melanie, I'm everywhere. So please do. And, of course, you can download the podcast on iTunes. You can get the videos on YouTube. I'm everywhere. And hello, Michael. Hello, Diana. Welcome back, Diana. Hello, Angel. Okay, so get that out of the way. So let's talk a little bit about what's going on in the news. I can't believe it's going to be 4 years. Just saying, like we have like 3 more years to go with President Trump. Things are just like way too exciting. Just like way too much going on. But anyway, let's start out with this: that Wells Fargo is in trouble yet again. They're getting fined $1 billion because they were found that they were charging customers unnecessarily for auto insurance and mortgage-related fees. Now, they got in trouble not too long ago for setting up bank accounts that people didn't agree to, and just like without their permission and charging them for it. Like they were just in trouble for that not too long ago, and now they're in trouble again. Like what are they doing? So maybe now they're going to get the message to the tune of $1 billion. But Wells Fargo is about to get fined. I actually have a friend who, before she started teaching, used to work for Wells Fargo, and she said they're like the shadiest people ever. She hated working for them. So she wasn't surprised that they had some issues with federal regulators. Go figure. Also in the news, opioid prescriptions filled in the United States has dropped dramatically in 2017, right? It's the biggest drop in 25 years. This is according to the firm, IQVIA. I'm not sure how that's pronounced. It looks like an acronym, but according to them, it's fallen nearly 10% nationwide. I want to say that that's a good thing. It probably is overall a good thing, right? But like I have a friend who called me the other day who's in an enormous amount of pain, had her wisdom teeth out, and the doctor like wouldn't give her any more medicine. I suspect because they're limiting it because of the opioid crisis. This is where the situation gets dicey for me, because if I'm in pain, like I want some pain meds. Neither of us have addictive personalities. I've had them before. I've never had a problem. There are people who are not as fortunate, and I get that. And I guess maybe there needs to be like a test or something, because I feel bad for people who are in legitimate pain. They're like, take some Tylenol. There's some pain. Tylenol doesn't get it, So, but so I guess that is a good thing. They're getting away from over-prescribing, I guess, is the bottom line, and that is a good thing. Doug said in Virginia, they no longer pass them out like candy. I mean, were they passing them out like candy, though? I guess. Not my doctor. I don't know. I don't know. They seem to be pretty judicious. But New Jersey, we can't have anything in New Jersey. I, I, like I said, I've never had a problem with them. I've never really found that, but my heart goes out to people who do have that legitimate problem. And while we're on the topic, you'll hear a lot of people. You see these memes and things on social media say nobody was concerned about the crack epidemic and like turn it into a racial thing. And I have to point out to them that people who started using crack didn't start in their doctor's offices. Just saying. And I think that's relevant. Josh said they were passing them out like candy in Florida, 10 times as much as any other state. Good Lord. Okay, that's a lot. Yeah, Josh, that's ridiculous. That's a lot. Oh, VA, as far as the Veterans Administration, well, shouldn't they get as much pain medicine as they want? I don't know. They fought wars and stuff. They're in pain. I say, let them have it. That's just one girl's dumb opinion. But exactly, Marsha Smith, there's no Dr. Crack. I mean, generally speaking, and this is a generalization, when people started smoking crack, they started doing it when they were doing other stuff they didn't have any business. There's a big difference. And I'm not saying that they deserve to be addicted. That's not what I'm suggesting. But what I'm suggesting is to suggest that it's racist because they're not handling the problem the same way. It's just because it's white people. Like, no, that's not, I don't think that's it at all. I think it's because the root cause started from a legal drug. Crack has always been illegal. Cocaine has always been illegal. So I think that makes in my mind, a significant difference as to how you start. Doug said if I have a hangnail, I need hydrocodone. No, I think I do, Doug. Kidding. I'm kidding. I don't want anybody playing this clip, in 10 years, which they probably will. People are crazy. But the doctors have clearly gotten the message, and opioid distribution, at least, is down by 10%. Also, tech companies scored more H-1B visas in 2017 than in previous years, which is interesting. Among the top ones obtaining H-1B visas are Amazon and Cognizant. That is very interesting. And H-1B visa is like tech people that are talented that come over from other countries. They're supposed to fulfill needs that we here in the United States, us or we? Anyway, that in the United States cannot be filled in the United States. So they get these work visas for computer science. And I thought that President Trump was supposed to cut down on those. I don't know. So that's kind of interesting. I guess he didn't because we needed them, or at least maybe they are, hopefully vetting people more based on, technology need. But why aren't we training more people over here? Because there's certainly people here who need jobs. Just saying. Yeah, Josh, you're saying they've cracked down on it. Was that a pun that they cracked? I'm kidding. That was a bad joke. I'm sorry. Sorry. All right. Finally, let's see, what else do we have here? I don't care about that. Netflix might be coming to theaters. Now that is interesting. The Cannes Film Festival, I believe it's pronounced Cannes, has Netflix thinking about buying theaters. This is according to the Los Angeles Times. Go figure. Wouldn't that be something? I wonder how that's going to work. Now, they were banned from competing, apparently, due to the lack of distribution, theatrical distribution, it says, in France. And buying a smaller chain would give a foothold in key industry markets. Interesting. That's according to the LA Times. I know that the stock has like outdone its projections. Netflix, I was talking about that the other day. Like, if it's affordable, you might want to grab you some. just saying, it is doing extraordinarily well. Go figure. All right, you're listening to Money Talk with Melanie. I am your business diva, Melanie Collette. My guest today is Executive Director for Beulah's Place, Andi Buerger, and she's going to talk to us about how we can save homeless teens from human traffickers. Very important topic. Very excited to have her today. We will be back in a couple of minutes.
Yet another reason to like Alabama Crimson Tide. Hello, I'm Ron Edwards on the next page of Edwards Notebook. In this age of sports teams and individuals like LeBron James hating President Trump because he simply seeks to protect our borders and our republic from invading illegal border crossers, and is not willing to do away with our Second Amendment because black thugs are shooting mostly other blacks who are in unarmed, stringent gun control cities like Chicago and Baltimore. It was refreshing when national champion Alabama Crimson Tide football players and coach Nick Saban paid a visit to our nation's capital, and not only enjoyed their visit with the president, but in fact did something that no other visiting sports team had ever done before. Instead of simply giving a little statement about their visit and leaving it at that, Crimson Tide football players took the time to pray for and with the president, who has endured more attacks than any president in the United States history, the exceptions being those who were murdered by the deep state, of course. Even though I am a lifelong Ohio State Buckeye fan, I must give a huge thumbs up to the Crimson Tide and wish them well. Well, that is until they play the Ohio State Buckeyes, of course. I'm Ron Edwards, sponsored by the Tri-County Liberty Coalition.
Who likes paying taxes? Nobody. That's why Eva Rosenberg from TaxMama.com wants you to pay less of them. Read Small Business Taxes Made Easy and learn how legally hiring your spouse and children can slash your taxes. Learn how to set up a business plan that minimizes taxes, the benefits of setting up an exit plan, how to avoid getting audited, and how to legally increase your deductible expenses with better record-keeping techniques. Don't let the IRS squeeze you out of every penny. Visit TaxMama.com. Click on Ask a Tax Question to get free answers to your tax and business questions. That's TaxMama.com.
My name is David Barnett, and I've been helping people buy and sell small and medium-sized businesses since 2008. So far this year, I've gone on 5 vacations. It's because I've got my own business. When you get tired of being managed by someone else and you decide that business ownership is right for you without the risk of starting your own unproven enterprise, then come over to BusinessBuyerAdvantage.com. There are over 100 YouTube videos on buying and selling businesses that you can watch for free. That's BusinessBuyerAdvantage.com.
Welcome back. You're listening to Money Talk with Melanie. I am your business diva, Melanie Collette, and my guest today is an executive director for Beulah's Place. Her name is Andi Buerger, and she's going to talk to us today about saving homeless teens from human traffickers. A little bit about my guest. She was herself a child victim of severe abuse, and she's a highly sought out inspirational speaker and international advocate for those who cannot speak for themselves. She travels extensively to create greater awareness of our nation's child trafficking epidemic and the devastating cost to America's future as a result of unchecked abuse and exploitation. Andi's energetic, candid style guarantees a memorable experience if you get her to speak. So I am looking forward to that. I just want to add one, you guys might be saying, why in the world is she having this on a money show? Well, I will tell you why. Do you know that human trafficking is a $13 billion per year criminal endeavor, and that extends all over the world? It's a real big problem. And like everything else, there's lots of money involved. And so I say it's relevant, plus it's just an important topic and important for us to get the word out about what her organization does. And without further ado, Andi Buerger.
Well, thank you, Melanie. It's a pleasure to be on the show today.
Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it so much. Let me ask you before we even get to the question, is there anything that I left out of your bio that you'd like to include?
Oh, no, you did a great job. Thank you. I hope I live up to that.
Right? Isn't that crazy when someone reads your bio and you're like, oh, what? Real? Who are they talking about?
Well, you scared me for a moment, but I'm okay now. Thank you.
No problem. So tell us about the very beginnings of, tell us what Beulah's house is, I should say. Beulah's Place, I apologize. What Beulah's Place is and why you decided to start it.
absolutely. Beulah's Place is a 501c3 nonprofit that is dedicated to providing temporary shelter services for at-risk homeless teen boys and girls. And these are the kids that have been severely abused and they're running for safety. They're on the street. They've been trafficked or they've been criminally preyed upon, and they don't know how to get out of the situation or to avoid the people that are after them. So those are the kids we're talking about, and we target the 18 to 23-year-old range because at 18, they're out of the foster care system, services usually stop, and they have three choices. Replicate what they came from, which is not good, stay lost in life and in the system, or three, with intercession or intervention like ours, hopefully get back on track and live independently. So what we do is we make sure that we provide temporary housing, usually maybe 3 to 4 months, 5 months sometimes, depending on the teen that we rescue. We make sure they finish high school and that they get a job within a week or two of being with us, which we help with. Because, Melanie, as you know, the important part about being an adult is being able to sustain yourself and a budget and be able to be a wise consumer, even if it's going to the grocery store and learning what foods to buy and how to use coupons, things like that. So we want to make sure these young folks are geared to be successful adults in life and become great consumers down the road for rentals and homes and things like that when they start their families. Now, as to why we started that, that's a great question. I would probably say that it happened in November 2008. My husband and I were serving dinner to homeless families at the senior center in our town in Redmond, Oregon. And we just knew that we had a heart to do something. And we weren't quite sure what exactly it was, but we saw these young women who had just had newborn babies, little bitty babies, and they were living in their car. And I doubt that they were more than 17 or 18 years old. So at that time, we decided we would choose a population that we felt was overlooked and do whatever we could. And it started out just to feed them, but then it grew into other things. And as you mentioned in the intro, I came from that background. I was severely abused and violated from 6 months to 17 years old. And I was 5 the first time I tried to take my life because that abuse was just so bad. It was just evil. And the last time my birth mother tried to take my life, I was 17. So it was hard. It was really hard. There was no place to go to. And no one would have believed me, even if I had tried to tell them. And I tried a couple times and it just didn't work out. So my personal passion is for these kids not to have to wait until they're in their 30s to get counseling like I did, to have bad relationships and all those things that can happen if you don't understand, who you are as a valuable human being with purpose and direction.
Exactly. And I just wanted you to know that there's emojis in the Facey chat, and Joshua says hi from Oregon, by the way. Josh is from Oregon. I want you to explain to my listeners exactly what human trafficking is. I feel like now it's become kind of like a buzz word, and we kind of have an idea about what it is, but don't really know. But before you answer, I want to make sure I tell you this. That Josh said, "Good work on turning that situation around," and God bless.
Oh, well, thank you, Josh. Yes, God has blessed me. I appreciate that.
So what exactly is human trafficking? Because the sense that I get is that people don't understand in earnest exactly what it is and how it works, and why homeless children in particular would be targets.
That's a popular misconception. Yes, I understand that. I don't have the psychological definition, but basically when another human takes, whether it's by abduction or uses another human for profit or perversion for sexual activities, that is human trafficking. Although what you stated, the $13 billion, it's a business. It's the second largest illegal business in the United States next to drug trafficking. It is very, very sad that we are so depraved in some areas of the country that this is allowed to happen. But here's what does happen. usually there are children or young adults, like in my case, our young adults, they may come from a broken family. They may have the abuse, which all of them have had. All of the ones that we have rescued have been severely abused, or taken back to abusive parents or relatives or guardians by law enforcement who maybe didn't take the time to check further into the situation. And so they bounce back and forth between being a runaway and trying to make it on the streets, trying to get to their life. But a lot of times there are people that pay, for example, on college campuses. This is like amazing, but an ex-Navy SEAL friend of mine told me this, that there are people that are paid, say like a young man, he'll get $1,500 to go to parties or to target maybe a certain girl, for example, and gain her trust, maybe have a soda or invite her out or just gain some conversation, that kind of thing. And so naturally, this young gal is going to go out with this young man at some point, and what happens is she ends up getting passed off to his friends or to people that will take her to another place altogether, and then she becomes violated and a piece of property, basically. That's one example. There are teenagers that are disenfranchised. Maybe they're a little bit shyer. Maybe they're not as popular. Maybe there are different situations going on in their family that their friends don't even know about. No one knew about my situation. If they had ever found out, it would have been really bad for myself and my sibling. So we never spoke. We were terrorized. So in trafficking, though, once a teen is on the street for 48 hours, we know that they are most likely able to be, or most likely will be trafficked by that point. They have nowhere else to go. And sometimes the teens that are on the streets, they're hungry, they're thirsty, they want a place to sleep, and it's very easy to entice them with, food, bed, clothing, gifts. Some of the more experienced traffickers will work very hard and create a longer relationship, especially the women who are trafficking other women or other children. One of our girls, she got gifts and she got taken to lunch and she was treated so well, right? And then one day they end up in a hotel room with other people. So it's very, very sinister. And a lot of the profile actually for some of the traffickers are actually middle age and living with families of their own because it's a business to them. They can get a lot of disenfranchised kids and teens to do a lot of things for the right amount of money or the right amount of carrots that are hung in front of their face. And when you're hungry and you're thirsty and tired, what else are you going to do? And
I would imagine that some of this is very hard to, the trafficking probably leads to things like prostitution, and then they end up getting locked up when they're really being trafficked.
Exactly. And once they're in that kind of environment, it is very, very difficult to trust anyone or to get out of it. So a lot of times the feels lost, and like there's no hope. There's no rescue for them, and nobody cares. And in our community, we work very hard to protect our kids, but no community can combat this alone. We need to do it as a unified front, as a nation, because these youth are our future. And if we allow them to be sold and exploited, then we are part of the problem. And this is why I go around the country trying to create more awareness, because it happened to me. I was very fortunate that I chose a different life path, but a lot of victims will not. And there's a lot of walking wounded in this country, hanging on by a fragile thread of hope like I did, but not really healing. And the gangs have figured out that it's easier to sell their girlfriend or to get with young girls to their clients, so to speak, because it's safer than making drugs, distributing drugs, trying to get people to deal the drugs, things like that. There's a lot of ways to get caught. But hey, if I invite my girlfriend and a few of her friends over to this house for a little party, then what happens at that house is a totally different experience for those girls.
That is the sad. That's incredibly sad. And I think, what are the methods that traffickers use? Is it just? I get the feeling that I get is it's not just kids that are on the street. I feel like this could probably happen to any kid through social media or anything like that, especially, young girls who are naive.
Absolutely. And just to be fair, young boys are also targeted for your listeners out there, but we hear primarily about the girls because many times they can get pregnant or they are forced into abortions or other things that they wouldn't normally do, but for the circumstances that they're in. And so the ways, definitely, truck stops, airplanes, you can see a disenfranchised teen. And when I say that, somebody that's not giving you eye contact, somebody that is barely giving body contact to maybe the person that's hustling her through or him through the airport or the train station, things like that. A couple years ago, there was actually a quote-unquote profile published that the more active traffickers were middle-aged men, 35 to 45, living behind a gated community with their own families. So it's a network of criminal activity.
That's evil. It's evil.
Absolutely evil.
So you said that, and it says on the website that this business is a worldwide business, not just in the United States. So are there international human traffickers here in the United States that are trafficking kids overseas?
Yes, absolutely. Anyway, especially cities that have ports available by sea, by air, any way they can get them. And especially the ages of girls, say 12 on up, usually 12 to 16, 12 to 18. That age range in particular is vulnerable, although all children are vulnerable, but in that age bracket, and they're very high dollar value internationally. It's a sick situation, but it's true. And even though there are movies out like Taken and stuff, that's a little bit dramatic, but the point is, yes, there are international traffickers in our backyard. We may not see it. We may not think that they're there to do something that despicable, but there are. Just like how many people are into pornography, but you would never know it because they show up at work or church or wherever every day or every week, right?
That is the triple truth. I mean, that is so right. I was speaking to a guest the other day about that very thing, and it was very similar. Her abuser was a card carrying, church going, everybody loved him type guy, and meanwhile he was this monster. So, yeah, that is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. So, when do these people ever get caught? Like, do they get caught, and is there a severe penalty at all?
That's a great question. I don't have a direct answer for that. I do know that my friend, the ex-Navy SEAL, he works with Facebook and other entities to help bring down the sites that are trying to entice young people or that are not real, but they're trying to use them to set up these houses where men can do whatever they need to do with these young women in particular. And he has a private company that helps with that. But if all of the social media companies involved would hammer down on this, it would be very helpful, because you don't know who's on the other side of that chat line. You really don't know. And there are a lot of lonely kids out there. Look at the bullying. Look at the suicide rate of young people these days. They're under tremendous pressure, and they will go wherever they feel comfortable. And if somebody says, hey, I'm happy to meet you, I'd like to have a girlfriend or boyfriend. One of my gals was left that we rescued and is doing awesome now. She had a father who violated her. The mother divorced him. The mother's an alcoholic, married someone who didn't like children, left this girl alone from like ages 12 to 16 with frozen food in the fridge, or in the freezer rather, for 6 days a week. At some point, where do you think this young girl was going to go to get social contact? And of course, that social contact involved drugs.
And people sell drugs. I'm surprised at this, but I've been offered drugs online, on Facebook. Now, obviously, I'm a fully grown woman. I know better than that. But I said, really, you can sell me that legally? He was offering me pain pills and weed and other things. Now, granted, I will grant you he's out in California, but he offered to mail me drugs. And this was recent, like within the last month or so.
Absolutely.
Well, and I'm like, so, I'm playing with him. I'm like, I said, really? You can do that? That's all? It's all legal? I know it's not. He's like, sure, it's legal. Ridiculous.
It is. It's very ridiculous. And one of the young men that we rescued and helped for a while, but the drug addiction got the better of him. He did. He got his drugs through a post office box at one of the private postal companies out there. And it's amazing. I was just stunned that that's how he was getting his fixes.
That, I mean, they are legitimately bold. And is there any way that listen, Facebook certainly knows how to monitor everything else. I mean, you can't say anything on Facebook without them putting you in facey jail. But they don't. But somebody messages me about selling me illicit drugs and nothing. Like nothing happens.
Exactly. How did they not catch that?
Exactly. And that's what I'm trying to say. Like, it seems to me that and I think that was brought up when Facebook was in front of Congress, when Mark Zuckerberg was in front of Congress, was the whole opioid drug ads and people offering other people drugs. I mean, if you can monitor other people's free speech, surely you can monitor that, I would think.
You would think, especially with the intelligence level of all the hackers and all the people out there, there's got to be a way to do that. And here's the other thing. It's a choice. And it's a choice to either judge these young people you see on the street that are homeless, not knowing their situation. And let's just be real, there are some that choose that life, but the majority would much rather be in a bed with food and water and decent clothing than out on the street, from my experience. And so a lot of times it's judgment. People at church may walk by and they don't want to notice that. Then they have to get involved. People at social services, they're overworked, underpaid. They've got too many kids. There's always reasons to not step up. But my call to action is let's step up anyway. We cannot be so busy that we are willing to sacrifice the children of this country to predators and to money mongers. It's greed and perversion. In my case, it was all about perversion. Unfortunately, my birth parents and the people they passed me around to, it was all about perversion back then. But today, it's all about the money.
That's ridiculous. Is there anything that I think I mentioned to you before we got on the air that I'm a teacher? Is there anything, and I have several friends who are teachers who are probably listening and watching, is there anything that teachers can do? Are there any signs, any questions that we could ask that legally that would indicate whether or not that person either was at risk or involved in something like that?
That is a really tough question because of the school system and trying not to violate personal rights and all those other things.
Exactly.
But
true.
that's between us and your listeners.
Right. Just between us and a few thousand of us. Yeah.
Yeah. A few thousand of my closest friends today.
Right.
When I was a substitute teacher, it was in public schools and it was private schools in California, but I sometimes would notice kids that were listless. It wasn't because they were lazy or not wanting to focus or concentrate. A lot of the times they had been abused like I had. They had, maybe they hadn't eaten or hadn't eaten well. You don't know what conditions they have in their home. It's a little hard to just say, oh, they're being trafficked, but there are ways to look at the body language, the eye contact, not just whether they're doing their work well, but what kind of support do you have at home for your homework? Or hey, I have all these extra granola bars. I tell people, have some non-perishable food in your backpack or your trunk of the car. And when you think you're coming across somebody, offer them, or just say, look, do you know anyone who could use these extra, protein bars? I've got too many. I've got to get rid of them, right? Okay, so there's some dignity involved, and if they're really hungry, they'll take it. Even in school, I always had extra snacks and things with me because I was concerned that maybe some kids didn't eat as well as others. Now, a lot of schools, they have lunch programs, but moving on, look at the clothing. Is it clean? Does it fit them well? What do they do with other people around them? Are they socially interactive? Because the longer the kids are on the streets or the more abused they are, a lot of times their social skills go down. And they're not going to be as communicative with other people because they're afraid and they don't want to upset anybody. They just want to be left alone. Now, for me, I have a little bit of natural energy. You may not have noticed, but I'm a very communicative kind of person. So I was the kid that got my affirmation from being what others would probably call now, or call them, the teacher's pet, or just doing as well as I could, because as long as I was okay at school, that was at least 8 hours of my day. I wasn't being violated, beaten, or told what a piece of work I was, right? So you've got the extremes. You have the overachievers and the peacemakers, and then you have those that are just trying to get through the day without anyone else criticizing them or getting on their case, type of thing. Does that make sense?
That makes a whole lot of sense. Thank you so much for that. We're up against the break, but when we come back on the other side, I want you to tell us more about Beulah's Place, specifically what the process is for getting kids in, that kind of thing, and most importantly, how my audience can help. Are you up for that?
I'm up for that, Melanie.
Excellent. You're listening to Money Talk with Melanie. I'm your business diva, Melanie Collette. My guest today is Executive Director for Beulah's Place, the one and only Andi Buerger. Very excited to have her here today. Very informative. We will be back in a few minutes.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Sean from the Sackheads Radio Show. Also one of the owners here at the SHR Media Network. Are you opinionated? Have you ever wanted to do your own show? Have you ever heard somebody like the Sackheads and go, yeah, I could probably do that better? Well, now's your chance. Send me a 5-minute clip at sackheadsradio@gmail.com, and maybe you can be part of the SHR broadcast. sackheadsradio@gmail.com.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capital. The overeating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern, only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad.
When new politicians, shadow governments, and deceptive Islam find the world with fake stream media smoke, their only fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Mills. Join me through shrmedia.com, highplanestalkradio.com, Western Free Radio Network, at Spreaker, YouTube, and iTunes for a different perspective weekly on the Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's no surrender ever, because truth is not always pleasant.
Hey guys, it's Sackhead Clint. I'm excited to tell you about a brand new show here on the SHR Media Network. I'm teaming up with the one and only all-powerful, the bloviating Zeppelin sitting here to my left, bringing to you a fresh new show here on the network. It's Against Tyranny, and we'll be picking up where the Sackheads left off. Excited to be with you, sir.
Sackheads against tyranny.
We're going to chat. We're going to chat Wednesday night. Sackheads Against Tyranny.
Wednesday night, 11 p.m. Oh, it's the same time, right? 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific.
Same SAC time, same SAC channel.
SHRmedia.com.
See what I did there?
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
Race, Christian by faith, American by nationality, and conservative by choice. Reverend Ralph J. Chittum Sr. is the right guy on SHR Media from 8:05 to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday. And if on the rare occasion I am ever wrong, I will still always be right. The right guy on SHR Media.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm right.
Join us for The Right Way, Shannon and White, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics,
and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on shrmedia.com.
And we're back. You're listening to Money Talk with Melanie. I'm your business diva, Melanie Collette. And my guest today is Executive Director for Beulah's Place. Oh, my goodness, Beulah's. Beulah. I'm thinking about getting out of school. Beulah. Beulah's. She's the Executive Director of Beulah's Place. Her name is Andi Buerger, and we're delighted to have her here today. And before the break, I asked you about what the process was for getting a kid off of the street and into Beulah's Place, how that works, and then, of course, I'd like to share with the audience how we can help.
Absolutely. Thanks, Melanie. Sure. With our program, Beulah's Place, which anyone can copy, basically, you do not have to be a nonprofit. Well, if you're going to raise money, you have to be a nonprofit. But basically what we do is it starts with a phone call, whether the teen has called in because somebody referred them to us, or it's at school, or Department of Health and Services, or any of those entities have called and said, hey, we have a teen we think you should talk to, or they call. As long as they make the call, because that's the first step in empowerment, reaching out. When they call us, I usually respond myself within, 2 to 4 hours of getting the call, in terms of calling them back and setting up a little bit of a discussion. So what's happening in your life, what's going on, why are you calling in? And they'll usually tell me the bottom line. And then I immediately set up a time to do an intake to meet with that teen. And so usually within the first 24 hours, I'm having a conversation face-to-face to kind of sort out what's really going on with this young person. And then we do an intake. I ask some questions. We find out, are they in immediate danger? Is there anyone else connected to them that could be dangerous, for example, like a boyfriend or anybody else, girlfriend, or something like that, because I have to know. We don't have a building yet. We don't have enough money for that, but we do have safe houses, which are run by volunteer people. So, for example, in your house, Melanie, if you wanted to be a host parent, you'd say, hey, Andi, I have an open room for a girl or a boy, and this is, this is what you can do. And so I meet with them, we do the intake, and then normally I put them in our house first. My husband and I run the primary safe house. So we've had 16 of the 33 teenagers live with us personally.
Wow.
And yeah, I know, it's been great. I'd adopt all of them actually, but so they come here, or I will put them, if they are a good fit, in my other safe house. The safe houses kind of come and go depending on that family situation. So it could be a single person, it could be a married couple. We had an older couple in their mid-70s. They were awesome. They loved having one of our young people with them, and took them out and did all kinds of things with them. It was great. So we find out where they're going to fit best in terms of housing, and make sure that, we kind of spoil them the first few days, but then we get them right on track. They have to sign a contract that's legally binding, because they're 18 or older, that says, I will do these things. And while I'm in a safe house, I abide by those house rules. There's no drugs, no alcohol. Any visitors have to be approved by myself and the house parent. So we're very, very strict, because we want that time to be all about them getting on their feet. If they have a girlfriend, boyfriend, they can socialize outside of the house, but not in the house.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, those are part of our rules. And then the mentoring, myself and a few other folks, we're all volunteers. No one gets paid. None of us have for 10 years. It's just what we do, because we want all the money to go to the kids and the programs. So after we get them settled, we get them a job. They're either in school or they finish school with GED or diploma. Then we connect them with the community. So for example, for those of you listening, if you remember when you got your first bank account, you had to show certain things. Some of our kids don't even have their ID, so we have to get the documents. And the ones that do have ID, they don't have residential history, which is the big issue. So we connect them with the bank in town that's very friendly to our program, and they will make sure that the teenagers, these young adults, can open up an account so that they learn how to work with the bank. And then we also make sure that we have a couple of lawyers in town. We have a couple of auto places in town that we connect them up to. This way, if my husband Ed and I aren't around, or AAA, which is a great gift, by the way,
right?
for a young person.
Very true. I had it when I was younger, for sure.
Absolutely saves a lot of those midnight emergency calls for my husband.
Indeed.
Anyway, they are connected with people that are safe. So even if they don't have a car problem, our teams know that the people we connect them with, if they have any problem at all, they can go there. And especially the young women, you know, go to this place, go to La Schwab, go over here, you know, wherever it is. These are your safe people in town. And so it's a great community collaboration and partnership that way.
I love that. Let me, I had a question from Doug in the chat. He wanted to know where the name Beulah came from. I think that he noticed that your name is not Beulah. So, wanted to know where the name came from. I was like, that's a great question. It would be nice if the interviewer asked, probably.
Great question. You should hire him.
Right, exactly.
Oh my gosh. Well, first of all, my husband's mother's name was Beulah. She passed a year before my husband and I met. And she just was a great kind of German mama who would share anything. I always use the example from what I heard from anyone who knew her. She taught Sunday school for 43 years, and she was just this amazing lady who would, you know, share whatever she had with anybody. And so she raised 3 boys, and I'm sure my husband and his brothers gave her a handful, so God bless her. So, but she just was an amazing lady. So that was partly an honor her, but also in the Old Testament and Bible, there's a place called Beulah land, between heaven and earth. And these kids are kind of caught between childhood and adulthood, being here and being there. And so that fit. And then years after we had the name and the program running, a rabbi friend of mine said, well, Andi, you know, Beulah is a pure Hebrew word. It means to bring together, to marry, to join with, you know, God and in our case, community. So it just seemed to fit.
Oh, that's beautiful. I'm so glad Doug. What would I do without Doug? I'm so glad. He's a big fan of the show. But that is excellent. I love that. That's beautiful. That is absolutely beautiful. Let me ask you this. Before you have these families with these safe houses, what do you have to do to qualify to be a safe house? If you're living out in Oregon and you're thinking, I might want to be one of those families that is a safe house for Beulah's Place, how would they go about doing that?
Absolutely. Great question. And so with the safe houses, we do a simple background check, clearly for the obvious reasons, you know, make sure there's no sexual felony and things like that. So we do a basic background check. And then the house or the house parents or the house parent, if it's a single person, they're responsible for providing a safe place. Not a perfect place. Martha Stewart doesn't go and investigate our safe houses. It doesn't matter if it's clean, messy, as long as it's a safe place for one of our teenagers. And then basically we are in contact with the safe house and with our teen every day that they're in the program, literally every day. And so the safe house is basically there to provide extra toilet paper or food if the food stamps run out for our kid, or if they can't afford to do that, we provide the food and supplies in order to have homes that will take our kids in for 3 or 4 months. Now, I will say that several of our house moms, they have had 4 or 5 of our kids. They love it. They just find it so satisfying because these kids are grateful. They are so happy to be in a safe place. Not happy about their life, of course. They still have a lot of work and a lot of healing to do, but that they're not on the street and that somebody opened their home to them. So until we have a place that we can purchase or use fully to ourselves, we rely on the generosity of the community to open their homes or to rent a room after phase 1 is done. And phase 1 is that initial 3 or 4 months where they're saving money by being in a safe house, although we do charge them $50 a month rent because, let's be real, we have to pay to live somewhere, and that's one way of getting them in the habit of budgeting rent.
For sure.
Yeah, so whether the house mom keeps it or not or gives it back to them at the end of their stay, it doesn't really matter to us as long as our teen is aware that they are going to have to contribute. And if they can't contribute right away, to be doing chores and other work at that house in order to compensate or to pay back. And Melanie, our kids are amazing. you don't even have to ask them to pay it forward. They are always willing to speak or to help another young teen or to do things for us. It's incredible, the generosity of their hearts once they're on their feet. And out of those 33, 5 of ours are in college. One was on the dean's list, and we have another one going into college shortly. And this was a gal who was on her 3rd suicide attempt.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's amazing. Let me ask you this, and quickly, because I definitely want you to be able to tell my audience how to help. But at the policy political person in me wonders if anyone has any problems with what you're doing as far as the safe houses, or is it because they're adults you can kind of free yourself from those regulations as a nonprofit?
Very astute, yes, because they are adults signing a contract, legally binding. That's how we are covered. We cannot put a minor in a private home for obvious reasons.
Right.
We can let legal adults. And then if there is an issue, we had to release 2 of our kids that we had from the program. They have 24 hours to move out if they violate any of those things that are stipulated in our agreement.
Wow. And
yeah, we're tough.
And that makes sense because you want to kind of develop that reputation for being tough, that once you're in, you're in, and if you violate, you're out. I mean, I think that's actually really important.
And the other part of it is, yes, in the early days, we had death threats. We have people that don't want the dirty little secrets of their family out. Some of the kids have broken out and, spoken up and things like that, that honestly, I don't really care. It's about the child. It's about the teen, that young adult we're trying to get ready to be the amazing human being God designed them to be.
Agreed. Okay, tell our audience how they can help, because if you don't live in Oregon, then you can't be a safe house, but I would bet that it does cost money to do this.
It absolutely does. It runs us about $1,800 per teen just for the first 3 to 5 months, because you have to think about clothing, transportation, education, all the things that go into getting them set up. A clean cell phone, we pay for their service for 3 months while they're there, and then just a lot of other things. So all the costs together and the help to the safe house. So it's about $1,800 per teen. So money is always awesome. We always need things for the kids. Just like I said, we never thought about college until a few of them said, hey, I want to go, but I'm having trouble getting financial aid, or financial aid is late, and I can't afford my books. So last year we had a gal that needed $2,300 in emergency dental surgery, and that was after the dentist, wrote off a lot of it because it was affecting her heart and her brain. The infection was so bad.
Oh, geez.
So what do? You got to do it, right? You got to find the money.
Absolutely. So how can they donate? From the website?
Absolutely. It's secured through PayPal. So if they go to beulahsplace.org, then they can donate right online. And in your own areas, find out if churches or senior centers or community centers would be willing to even do something as simple as what we call an open teen night, which means there's no preaching, no teaching. It's basically, hey, bring your friends and we're going to have hot dogs or pizza and, an appropriate movie or game night. And once a month, it may take a while to grow, but that's something that a community could do. As an individual, food drives, host a dinner or rummage sales, any of that, recyclables, give them to an organization that will use the money well. And if you don't have one, send it to us, because I guarantee you I pinch pennies so tight they squeak.
Yeah, you'll find a place for it. Now, if someone would like you to come speak, how can they contact you?
Absolutely. They can contact me directly, for just my friends here that are listening, at 541-788-9639. 541-788-9639. That would be awesome.
Excellent. And let's give a shout out to our mutual friend, Eden Gordon, who is a rock star. We love her.
You love that girl.
Yeah, she is fantastic. She's going to be like, I can't believe she said that. But Eden Gordon is a rock star publicist who brings people together. So whenever I get one of her clients on the air, I always like to give her a shout out, because she has certainly helped me quite a bit, and is just great for her clients. I want to thank you so much for being on the show. You absolutely rock. Eden was right as usual.
I appreciate that. I'm glad I didn't fold under the pressure.
No, it's all good. You're listening to Money Talk with Melanie. I'm your business diva, Melanie Collette. My guest today was Andi Buerger. I want you to remember, first of all, I want you to thank you all for listening. If you're listening to the podcast, thank you. You guys in SHR Media, High Plains Pundit Talk Radio Land. All you guys in Facey, thank you so much for listening. Remember, all of this is important because it's your money. Have a great weekend.